Good morning. Welcome to News Channel 3 Sunrise. I'm Melanie Schaefer.
And I'm Rob Johnson. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday, September the 27th.
Coming up this morning, residents are upset to learn an underground walkway in Huntington may be closed. Why they want to see the walkway remain open.
And a woman's viewpoint as she watched a high-speed chase barrel straight into her car on the interstate.
It is 5 a.m. You're watching News Channel 3 Sunrise.
I'm WSAZ meteorologist Brandon Butcher. The day starts just like all the others we've been seeing this last week or so, with some patchy fog and comfortable temperatures. But just like we've seen, we quickly warm up into the 80s by lunchtime under plenty of sunshine. However, today is the last day of this, and hopefully we can bear up the heat with just one last try, because we're going to be watching clouds arrive later today, and with it a few showers, but more importantly the end of this fever. It finally breaks. However, today may end up being the hottest one of them all too. Some low 90s in the cards for some folks, because the combination of a southerly wind and that beating sun on the drying ground all can conspire against us. But here's the scene. Dry right now locally, of course, but then if you just connect the dots to our west, notice how faintly it is. There's not a lot of rain in there at all, but there is your front that will be arriving, and then behind it a north wind is going to blow, and that will help cool things down. Not a gusty wind, but just the idea of a shift in the pattern, and it does set up a wonderful weekend. I think you guys are going to take about 3 seconds to get used to temperatures 10 to 20 degrees cooler than what they are today.
Yeah, after this afternoon in particular. Thank you.
Well, new this morning, a Michigan man was found with drugs during a traffic stop in Ashland. Stephen Holloway of Melvindale, Michigan, just outside of Detroit, arrested yesterday after an undercover officer bought 2 grams of heroin off of him. After that drug buy, Holloway was later pulled over on a traffic stop, and heroin was found inside of his car. Holloway has been charged with importing heroin and trafficking a controlled substance. He's in the Boyd County Detention Center this morning. Residents are upset to learn an underground walkway in Huntington may be closed. Just this summer, volunteers worked to clean up a tunnel of needles and graffiti, but now they're hearing that their effort may be in vain.
Well, News Channel 3's Andrew Colgrove spoke with some of those neighbors about why they want to see the walkway remain open.
This tunnel is symbolic of the unity that has happened here amongst many folks.
This was the scene at the West 5th Street underpass back in July, when volunteers worked to clean up trash and needles.
This tunnel was let go for so long and not cleaned.
This tunnel is a safe passageway underneath the tracks above us.
Heroin-Hearst driver Dwayne Woods grew up close to here and spearheaded the effort.
I pass through this tunnel many times a week.
After spending time and energy restoring the space, they were disappointed to learn the city intended to close the walkway.
It would feel like a smack in the face.
Plans to fence off the entrances went into effect last week because of safety concerns, but Dwayne disagrees that it remains unsafe.
The tunnel is clean now. I myself don't see any reason why it should be closed off. There are people using this tunnel,
It's also a historic monument as far as the city of Huntington goes. It's been here for so long.
Dwayne is asking the city for more time, 6 months, to see if their cleanup effort has a lasting impact before the decision to close it becomes final.
Realistically, if we're going to fence this tunnel off now after it's clean and it's been kept clean because it is a safety issue for needles or in this addiction, then maybe we should start looking at other places to fence off as well. Maybe we should fence the whole city.
Well, city leaders say that they are postponing the closure of that walkway, and they'll get more input from the public. No word now exactly on when a decision will be made.
A man has been sentenced to 2 to 10 years in prison. It's after being found guilty of DUI, causing death, and negligent homicide. Deputies say Ronald Carson Jr. was pulling out of his driveway out on Route 2 in Cabell County when he hit Justin Ryan Parsons. He was riding a motorcycle, and Parsons died at the scene. Investigators say Carson admitted to taking Xanax before he got into his car. Charleston police still looking for a man accused in a bank robbery at the BB&T in Kanawha City. This happened back on September the 7th at the McCorkle Avenue location. The man was seen on surveillance entering the bank, pulling out a gun and demanding cash. Police say the suspect's vehicle was caught on the surveillance video around the area. It's an early 2000s black GMC Sierra extended cab with a black cover.
2 inmates have now been charged after they assaulted 2 guards at the Boyd County, Kentucky Detention Center. Jamarius Mosley and Dustin Austin have now been charged with third-degree assault. The guards were attacked Monday while responding to a call for assistance in the general population unit. Both had injuries to their heads and faces. They were taken to the hospital, but they were okay enough to be released. Well, now to the developing story of the recovery going on in Puerto Rico from the hurricane. A helicopter crew spotted the word help. See it there on the roof of a house? The family says they painted the word there, hoping to get assistance, and it worked. The team that spotted the house able to land and treat 3 patients at that house.
Speaker of the House Paul Ryan says that Puerto Rico will get all the assistance needed in the aftermath of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Speaker Ryan said that Puerto Rico will get the same support and aid that both Texas and Florida have received.
I want the people of Puerto Rico to know that we are in this with them. Right now, this is a rescue mission. And I also want the people of Puerto Rico to know that they're going to get the kind of support and the aid that Texas and Florida have been enjoyed. The bill we passed out of here a couple weeks ago for FEMA equally applies to Puerto Rico.
Well, practice makes perfect, right? Lifesavers like these firefighters have to know what they're doing too in the field. This week, the professional firefighters of West Virginia are attending training sessions in Charleston. Today, they're practicing extrication using a bus, a tractor trailer, and several cars.
So this training is very vital to bread and butter of the fire department, especially in Charleston here in West Virginia, to get that person out of the car in the golden hour. The golden hour is from the time of the accident till we get them to a surgical suite and get them basically fixed.
Well, they're going to continue training today and Thursday. Firefighters from Virginia and from Pittsburgh are also in town to help with those sessions. Now, the debate about whether guns should legally be brought into municipal recreation centers in Charleston has now been clarified by a judge. The ruling says that if a portion of the building is being leased by the Board of Education, no guns allowed. The decision comes after years of Charleston and the Citizens Defense League being at odds about whether guns are permitted. The ruling also says that if a building is not leased or used by the Board of Education, then people with a valid concealed carry permit can certainly do so. Now, workers with the United Way of the River Cities talking racism in the Mountain State. Last night, they brought back a race conversation series that they began last year called Together We Rise. The conversation allowed participants to address the issue of racism in our local communities. The director of the United Way says there have been several good conversations at these Together We Rise events, and now they want to turn the ideas into action.
We thought, you know what, we need to bring everybody back together. We need to have another discussion where we've got people at the table and we've got people who are looking at each other and talking about how they feel, and then, you know, acknowledging that these are the issues that the community decided to work on, and what are we going to do.
On last night's meeting was the 4th in this Together We Rise series. Now to an update on that wrong way police pursuit we first started to tell you about on Sunday. It landed one guy behind bars, but it also sent an innocent driver and a police officer to the hospital.
The Nitro police chief says his officer is already back to work at this point. The chief told us Sunday that the chase was justified and the victim doesn't hold any ill will. News Channel 3's Jatara McGee shares that woman's viewpoint as she watched a high-speed chase barrel straight towards her.
Driving down the interstate at 3 a.m. Sunday, Kiara Price just wanted to get home.
I was right there at the cross lanes exit, and there's this hill that you go up right before you see the exit itself.
That's when a motorcycle zoomed by her, speeding the wrong way down the interstate.
By the time my brain actually started to process what was going on, I was staring down the police officer headed straight towards me. I knew I was going to hit him, trying to make sure that both of us got out of there alive.
It was a Nitro police officer in the middle of a lengthy pursuit with Christopher Ness. Price and the officer turned at the last minute, missing hitting head on, but still collided.
When we impacted, I broke my rim completely in half. Officer Ferry, when he hit the wall, he actually started doing donuts and was sent to the bottom of the hill. As soon as he stopped, he got out of his vehicle and he ran up the hill to check on me.
She says his main concern was her.
He refused to get in the ambulance until I was taken care of.
The crash sent them both to the hospital, but without serious injuries.
It definitely could have been a whole lot worse. For us to both be able to walk away from the accident is a complete miracle.
She says the responding officers stayed by her side, even the chief, visiting and checking in.
It meant the world to me. You could see the sincerity on their face, that even though they didn't know me, they cared for me like I was family.
Still in pain, but healing, while the response to that terrifying accident is helping her heal too. Jatera McGee, WSAZ News Channel 3, Kanawha County.
Now, the man that led police on the chase remains in jail on a $75,000 cash-only bond. We'll keep you updated as he makes his case, and his case makes its way through the court system.
Well, still coming up here at Sunrise, genetics may explain most of the risk for autism. We'll have that in our Health Matters. But up next, meteorologist Brandon Butcher in with what you can expect for your morning commute.
Oh yes, watching for the fog this morning, but when the kids get outside for recess, not too long after that, the heat right back there. But it's the last day of it. Forecast next.
WSAZ News Channel 3 with Rob Johnson, Melanie Schaefer, and meteorologist Brandon Butcher. This is News Channel 3 Sunrise.
Developers have pulled the plug on plans for a new shopping center along Corridor G in South Charleston, what it means for the city going forward.
Also, Governor Jim Justice was in Morgantown drumming up support for his roads bond plan. We'll fill you in this morning. We're glad you're here. It's 5:30 right now. I'm Melanie Schaefer.
And I'm Rob Johnson. Let's start get a check on the forecast with Brandon.
Oh, we've been seeing the same thing over and over again, but we're going to get some change finally on the way. Today, last day, though, of the heat and this pattern that we've been in. Live look at Charleston, capital city, showing some fog off in the distance. We have had that day in and day out here. We're going to be watching to see how far the extent is in different various areas, but just remember it's out there once more, so be careful on the travel this morning, but due time, back to more sunshine, back to more heat. 82 by lunchtime after those comfortable 60s early, and then 90 again in our sights. Now later on today, there's the difference maker. Clouds approaching from the west and with it a few passing showers. Note how dry again it is on dual Doppler, and also note how an approaching front that we've been talking about pretty weak right now. Most of the rain showers have been split north and south, so right in the middle, not a whole lot of moisture there. So we're not worried about travel weather per se, but notice the difference. After Chicago had a run of 7 days in a row above 90 degrees, which was a record for them, the 70s up that way, that kind of weather finally coming to us as well.
Like what Chicago has. Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right, there has been some movement in the Republican effort to overhaul the Obama health care law in Washington.
Last-ditch effort from the Senate Republicans to repeal and replace Obamacare failed. News Channel 3's Taylor Eaton is here now live with us, and this comes as sponsors of the bill realized they were just not going to have the votes needed to pass it.
Well, that critical deadline was looming at the end of this week, and Senate Republicans say they realized they just weren't going to get the votes that they needed to pass this, so they decided not to even take a vote on it, just letting it die. Now, during a bipartisan meeting on tax reform, Trump told the group at the White House that he was disappointed in Republican senators who came out against the Graham-Cassidy bill, and also threatened that he could end up working with Democrats on getting a health care bill passed, since it seemed that his own party couldn't.
At some point, there will be a repeal and replace, but we'll see whether or not that point is now or will it be shortly thereafter. But we are disappointed in certain so-called Republicans.
So where now does the focus turn? Well, President Trump says instead of lingering on this and dwelling on it, they're now just going to work hard at tax reform. Meanwhile, though, Rob, Senate Republicans say they are going to fulfill their promise to voters to come up with a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
All right, Taylor, thank you. And Republicans set to release the framework of the tax reform plan today. According to President Trump, the plan will include middle-class tax cuts. Also said that there would be no tax cuts on the wealthy.
The Barboursville Police Department asking for your help right now. Take a look at this video. This person you see in the pictures broke into a car at the Huntington Mall and stole an iPhone 6 Plus as well as a credit card. Police say then went on a shopping spree, spending a few $100s buying cigarettes. Police say he was a passenger in a light-colored SUV. If you recognize who this is, know anything about this, you need to call the Barboursville Police. A federal inmate has been sentenced to a year and 3 months in prison. It's for having a weapon at a correctional institution. Christopher Williams previously admitted that in August of 2016, he had a handcrafted weapon, something known as a shank, in prison. He says it was a piece of metal sharpened on one end with a handle made out of duct tape. Investigators say it was discovered after a staff member saw it fall out of his clothing.
A person has died after a crash in Floyd County, Kentucky. State police say that the two-car crash happened about 8 yesterday morning on Branhams Creek Road. Troopers say the cars wrecked at a curve near Sword Branch Road. John Coleman was killed in the crash. His passenger and the driver of the other car taken to the hospital. Don't have word on their condition at this time. And those who live in that area, though, say crashes are way too common on that road. Now, developers pulled the plug on the plan for another shopping center along Corridor G in South Charleston. According to the Tennessee-based development company, Interstate Realty, plans for Little Creek Village have now come to a halt.
It was because the project was just not economically feasible, they say. News Channel 3's Nathan Tackage has more on the details of that decision and what it really means for South Charleston going forward.
According to South Charleston's mayor, the project fell through when developer Interstate Realty wasn't able to reach an agreement with another developer that owned a key piece of the property needed for the plaza. While the project at the originally intended location across from the South Ridge Shopping Plaza is now dead, Mayor Frank Mullins says he and the developer are already in talks to build a plaza with many of the exact same stores, just in a different location. Meanwhile, Mullins says several other development projects across the city are still very much a go.
We have the Thomas Hospital expansion going on. We have Jefferson Road. We have the Fly Ash Pond still moving. And this particular project, in my opinion, we'll be able to put it in another part of the city. And so hopefully, I'm not overly disappointed today. I'm still very optimistic that we have some great things getting ready to happen.
As for Little Creek Village, Mayor Mullins says that this was actually the second time that a developer wanted to build on that land, with the plans now falling through both times.
Now, originally, the developer wanted to break ground on the project by next summer. Mayor Mullins says he and Interstate Realty will immediately begin looking for a new location for this plaza. But as of now, he says there's just no timeline for any future project.
Around the region this morning, Governor Jim Justice of West Virginia in Morgantown trying to get support for his road bond plan.
The governor spoke to dozens of people at the Erickson Alumni Center at WVU. He told attendees that this is the biggest vote of all time, emphasizing that if the vote passes, it will not add new taxes to the Mountain State. Instead, he says it will bring thousands of jobs by bringing in better roads and the crews that need to build those roads. Secretary of Transportation Tom Smith was also there, encouraging everyone to vote since one of the bigger projects is in Monongalia County.
Morgantown, unlike the rest of the state, is actually booming from an economic point of view. But what we have when you have a booming economy is stifling congestion. And so the I-79 Access Project allows us to alleviate that so that Morgantown can continue to grow and thrive.
And early voting is underway. You can still vote until October the 4th. The polls will open up Monday through Friday during regular business hours at each county courthouse or courthouse annex to early vote. You can also early vote each Saturday from 9 to 5. If you have any questions, you should contact your county clerk. The election itself is Saturday, October the 7th.
Kanawha County schools are still waiting for additional air quality results to come in about Capitol High School. 7 spaces still off limits to students, some classrooms, offices, and the auditorium. Principal Larry Bailey says, though, he is certain the school is still safe. Not a developing story this morning of people who live in Puerto Rico fleeing the U.S. territory after 2 back-to-back hurricanes just left the island in shambles.
Loved ones anxiously awaiting at the airport in Florida for those arrivals of those who are evacuating. Every person escaping the hurricane weathered island just has a unique story. Army veterans say the devastation really reminds them of a place they've been while on a tour of duty. Many are headed to Central Florida because Puerto Rico has no power, very little water, and is pretty much uninhabitable right now.
We're just happy that we're one of those families that, have a lot to be thankful for.
A way out of Puerto Rico. We live there, but it's just unlivable right now.
On Florida, Senator Marco Rubio has returned from a visit to Puerto Rico. He saw that devastation firsthand. Rubio says the tremendous damage he saw is the potential for a serious crisis, even outside the capital of San Juan. The Republican senator says the U.S. has a fundamental obligation to respond to this hurricane in Puerto Rico, just the same way we're responding to other areas of the country. Emphasized that a conventional response, though, isn't going to be enough here.
I think we need to reevaluate how we are logistically pursuing this. You can't drive it in. You got to barge it in. It takes 7 days. You got to fly it in. There's a limited number of flights that can come in every day. We're going to have
going to have to rethink this. The Pentagon greatly increasing the active duty military forces being sent in to help in the relief effort, growing from about 2,500 now to possibly double that number within the next several days. Well, the president of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto, now making national address to his beleaguered country. They have had a deadly September. Hundreds of people killed in both earthquakes and hurricanes. President talking about how more than 400 people have lost their lives. Around 190,000 properties have serious damage or were destroyed, but stressed that despite these painful events, Mexico is united and standing. He added they will continue rescue operations and, where possible, will start reconstruction.
All right, back on our neck of the woods. Soon you and your family could spend the day jumping and bouncing around at the new trampoline park. A new Sky Zone will open up in just about a month at the old Grand Prix at Southridge. That's right behind the Walmart. Checking out the inside here. We got a sneak peek and took a look at all the construction to make way for the trampolines that are fun and just about ready to be put into place. The business will employ about 75 people this week. They're actually holding several job fairs to fill that spot on Thursday. You can stop by the Hampton Inn at Southridge between 9 and 11 a.m. or pop in at 4 to 6 p.m. or from 11 to 2 at the Geary Student Union on UC's campus. Then on October the 4th, there'll be another chance at this from 11 to 2 p.m. They're looking for cashiers, court monitors, party hosts, and event assistants.
An exciting night under the lights. All 8 bands from Kanawha County, the marching bands from the schools, coming together to compete in the Gazette Male Majorette and Band Festival. This was out at Laidley Field last night. The bands performing their 2017 field shows. The Twirlers competing for Miss Kanawha Majorette title. The festival also serves as a fundraiser for band boosters in the county. Special performance too by the Mountaineer Marching Band.
Well, I think it's really invigorating, like going out there and hearing all these cheers, like after we put on all this hard work. It's just like that sense of accomplishment feels good.
The 2017 grand champion, George Washington High School. Capital came in second, Nitro came in third, and also congratulations to Capital High School's Lauren Carnell, the new Miss Kanawha Majorette.
All right, coming up on News Channel 3 Sunrise, thousands of people evacuate due to the potential threat of a volcano erupting.
And yeah, we've been tracking all the heat around here. Going to be seeing some cooler temperatures coming in for the rest of the week. Your forecast next.
WSAZ News Channel 3 Sunrise.
Aid shipments being increased into Puerto Rico with more ports and airports able to handle cargo ships and air traffic.
The governor there toured a fuel facility near San Juan's airport where National Guard and private tanker trucks were filling up with badly needed fuel, trying to distribute them throughout the island. Governor Rosello said a FEMA waiver for matching funds from Puerto Rico announced Tuesday would really give the island's government more resources to tackle the many issues they're facing during this recovery effort. The waiver means that the federal government will assume 100% of the recovery costs, providing relief to the island cash-strapped government and making it much easier to buy needed supplies and hire contractors to fix the electrical grid and all the other damaged infrastructure.
Berkeley, the scene of yet another heated free speech protest. Tuesday afternoon, protesters interrupted a rally sponsored by the right-wing group Patriot Prayer. The groups eventually clashed. Police had to step in. They did make 4 arrests. The Patriot Prayer March and Rally comes as a 4-day free speech week was supposed to be in its 3rd day at UC Berkeley. Those events, though, called off by student group Berkeley Patriot.
More than 6,000 people were moved to emergency shelters on Vanuatu's northern island, Ambe, in the South Pacific. A volcano is threatening to erupt there. The volcano, known as Monaro, stirred earlier this month, but it intensified over the weekend, started to emit ash and volcanic gas, triggering fears that there was an imminent eruption. Vanuatu's National Disaster Management Office said authorities have set up 15 emergency sites, but the large-scale evacuation is really straining supplies. Vanuatu is one of the world's poorest nations, where locals are almost entirely reliant on food that they grow in their own gardens just to survive.
Such a big a volcanic eruption there actually can have implications across the whole globe. The last time we had a huge eruption with Pinatubo, the global temperatures went down a degree for about a year or two. So, well, I mean, it's only going to be an average about a degree. We would need a little more than that to feel a little comfortable around here, but it's amazing how even just one eruption can have such change. This morning, starting off in the 60s, getting to 90 degrees. We would love to see a little cool down around here, and it will come. Later on this afternoon, clouds approach from our west and even a few showers. But no real rain relief. This isn't going to be a rain maker. See, barely even registering many drops out there to our west. But it will bring a cool down. So the kids getting ready for school. Again, a patchy fog this morning, nice and comfortable at the bus stop, but that walk home from school, more heat for folks with that backpack strapped. How about this, though? Later on this week, Friday, I think it'll be a lot cooler for a lot of those kids. But at this point, I think we're ready for a cool down.
Yeah, we're ready.
Seriously, we are. Thank you.
Let's get the coffee quiz question for you now.
Our question this morning: why did a principal in Charlotte kick out the entire student body from a football game last Friday? We showed that report on the news on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, parents worry on this one. Answer the question correctly on our Facebook page. We'll let you know some of the people who got it right coming up in the next half hour. Also ahead on Sunrise this morning, one Ohio police department is now taking their own stand against the NFL. We have that story coming up.
And as we head into the break, the lottery numbers.